Hey everyone, welcome back to another video session by Simplilearn. In this video, we will be learning about loops in Kotlin, which is a very essential topic in Kotlin. So let's go ahead and have a look at what we will be covering today. So we will start with loops in Kotlin, and then we will understand different types of loops. We will learn about for loops, for each loop, and for loop with ranges. After that, we will understand while loop and do while loop in Kotlin with the help of hands-on examples. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update from Simplilearn. Now, let's go ahead and understand loops in Kotlin. Are used to repeatedly execute a series of statements until a certain condition is met. Typically, a process is carried out such as retrieving and altering data, and then a condition is verified, such as whether a counter has reached a specified value. If it hasn't, the next instruction in the sequence is a command to go back to the first instruction in the sequence and repeat it. So, until a specified or given condition is true, or the loop is broken with the break statement, a series of statements are going to execute. There are various types of loops in Kotlin, like for loops, for each loop, for loop with ranges, while loop, and do while loop. So let's go ahead and understand these loops. Now we'll start with for loop in Kotlin. A for loop is a conditional iterative statement that checks for a specific condition and then constantly executes a block of code as long as those criteria are met. The for loop differs from other looping statements in that it provides an explicit loop counter that allows the loop's body to know the exact sequence of each iteration. The for loop is used in Kotlin to traverse over ranges, arrays, and maps. As we can see in the diagram, first there is an initial statement, then there is a condition, and if that condition evaluates to be true, then the statement inside the loop body are executed and updated. The updation can be incremental or decremental. Then again, the condition is checked. If it's true, then the same process will get repeated, and if the condition is not satisfied, then the control jumps out of the loop. This complete process will keep on repeating until the condition evaluates to be false. Now, let's understand for loop with the help of an example. So this is our code editor IntelliJ IDEA. Here we will be doing an example of for loop in which we will print the odd and even elements from an array. So here we will use a for loop and if else condition. So let's start. First of all, we'll make the main function main. Inside this function, let's declare an array. Val num is the name of the array, and the array of function. Inside this, we'll mention the elements of the array. Let's say 7, 21, then let's say 23. So these are the elements of the array. Now after this, we will simply print a message. Let's say like the odd and even numbers in the list are as follows, and then we will apply the logic. Right, the odd even numbers are as follows. Right, now we'll use for loop. Now inside this for loop, item will be the name of the variable that will store the variables or elements of the num array one by one. So num is the name of the array, and in between there will be in operator. So one by one, each element of the array will be stored in item, and now we'll use if condition. Now we have to print even and odd numbers. The logic is simple. We'll write if item ampersand sign divided by 2 if the remainder is equals to 0, then it means it is an even number. So any even number on when it is divided by 2, it will give 0 as a remainder. So if it will give 0 as the remainder, then we will print even number, then here we'll write item. That particular element will be printed. Alright, now in else block we'll do println, and here we will write odd number. Here again we'll write plus item. So alright, I think our code is done and we can run it. Let's try to run this one. So as we can see, even numbers and odd numbers are getting printed. So 16 is an even number, 2 is an even number, odd numbers 11, 17, 28 even number, odd number 39, and even number 10. So I think all the elements are getting covered. Here we go, 7, 21, odd number. So yeah, so this is how you can use for loop, and here we also have used if and else statements. Now let's understand for each loop. The for each method in Kotlin allows you to access elements in a collection or list and perform actions on them. We can achieve the same thing using the for loop, but several for loops would quickly make your code unreadable. As we can see in this example, there is a list named mylist, and like in arrays we use array of function. Similarly, in list we use list of function. The elements of the list are in winter, is, and coming. So there are 3 elements. First is winter, then is, then coming. So to print each element of the list, we will use for each loop. As we can see, here we have used mylist.forEach, that is the for each loop, and then we will print the iterator to print all the elements of the array. Now let's do an example on for each loop to understand it better.
Choose from over 300 in-demand skills and get access to 1,000 plus hours of video content for free. Visit SkillUp by Simplilearn. Click on the link in the description to know more.
So again, we are back in our code editor. Here we will be doing an example of for each loop. So this example would be a simple example, function main, and inside this function we will create a list. Let's say where a list, let's name it a list. Okay, so after that we'll use list of function, and also let's mention the data type. Alright, so now inside this list we will mention the elements, let's say 110 and 265 and let's say 315. So these are random elements. Alright, now we will have to create a variable sum and initialize it with 0. Now using this list a list, that is the name of the list, we will use a for each loop to iterate through each element of the list. We'll use for each, E must be capital, after that right for each, and now we will use this sum variable to do a simple sum of each element of the list. Sum plus here it. So it will be storing each element one by one. It will sum, with the help of sum it will add each element to one another. So initially sum is 0. When 110 is added, then 265 is added to 110, then 315 to added to both of them. So alright, now all we need to do is to print this. We'll write println sum, So here we go. Now I think we can try to run this one. Although it is showing an error, but let's try to run this. So as I thought, I think we have to write the correct way only. So this is the right syntax of for each loop, and yeah, so now let's try to run it. So as you can see, 690 is getting printed. So we have to use for each bracket with for each only, and we can't enter or put space with it. So yeah, so this is the syntax of it. Now let's move on to the next loop, which is for loop with ranges. A range is a set of values that fall within a specified lower and upper limit, and the values can be numbers, characters, or objects. Ranges might be incremental or decremental, but the difference between two values is always 1. As we can see in the example, inside the for loop num in 1 to 8, here dot dot is the operator, it means all the numbers from 1 to 8 range will be printed. Also, we can use a step function to print the elements with a gap. And we also have to mention the gap, like step 2. There are more library functions that build ranges that aren't covered by the double dot operator. For example, down2 creates a range that counts down, while range2 creates a range that advances to a certain value. Now, as we have understood ranges, now let's understand while loop. While loops are used to repeatedly cycle a block of code as long as the specified condition returns true. The condition is verified first, and if it is true, the block's code is run. Every time it enters the block, the condition is checked, and as a result, the code will keep running until the condition is met. Once the loop starts, the condition is checked. If that condition is satisfied, then the set of instructions are executed, and if the conditions are not satisfied, then the control jumps out of the loop. This complete process will keep on repeating and executing unless the condition evaluates to be false. Now let's understand while loop with the help of an example. So now here we will be doing an example of while loop. So here we will use an array, and we will create elements of the array like positive and negative. Then using the while loop, we will print the positive numbers and the negative numbers separately. So let's start. First of all, we'll create the main function, and inside this main function we'll create an array. Let's say arr is the name of the array, and here we are using the array of function. Inside this function we'll write down the elements like 52, any random elements, minus 77, we have to write some negative elements as well, minus 67 let's say, and minus 20. Alright, after that we'll create a variable, let's say I, and assign it 0, initialize it with 0. So here we are initializing it. Now within the while loop we will write I less than arr dot size, that the array size. So it means this loop will keep on iterating till the size of the array is greater than 0, and when it becomes 0 the loop will break, or the control jumps out of the loop. Alright, so as we know I is 0, so that is why I less than array dot size we have used. Now in if condition we'll write arr of I greater than 0, that is positive number. If the element here, if the element is positive, that is greater than 0, then we'll print positive number. Right, now arr I. So that is how we will print it. Now here we'll write else block, and inside the else block again we will print negative number ARR of I. Okay, so after that we have to increment I plus plus. Basically we have to make the loop to keep on iterating, so that is why we have used I plus plus for the updation, like to move to the next element. In for loop we don't do the updation part like ourselves, but in while loop we have to do that. Now let's try to run this. So here we go. 52, 10 positive numbers, minus 77 negative, 82 is positive, then there are negative numbers. So here we have used the while loop, and it is easy, pretty much easy. Now let's move to the next loop, which is a do while loop. The do while loop. The while loop and do while loop are quite the same kind of loops. The only difference is that the function is run at least once before the condition is evaluated in the do while loop. The while loop, on the other hand, checks the condition before executing the function. So as we can see in the diagram, the do while loop starts and the set of instructions are executed. After that, the while loop condition is checked. If it is true, then again the set of instructions or statement will execute. So basically in do while loop, the set of instruction will execute once before checking the condition, and after that it will check for the condition to be true. So we can say the set of instructions will execute once even if the condition is not met. So let's understand do while loop with the help of an example. Here we will do an example of Fibonacci series. So Fibonacci series is the series in which the sum of the previous two elements is equal to the third element. So let's start. First of all, we'll write function main. Now inside this we will create a variable, let's I. This is a counter variable. So we'll start with 1, and now another variable, let's say n. Let's assign it 10. After that we'll create a sum variable and assign it 0. Then where, let's say f1, and make it 0, and where f2, and we'll make it 1. Alright, so we know in Fibonacci sequence first two elements are 0 and 1. Alright, so that is why we have assigned f2 as 1, and we'll print it. Now we have to do this example with the help of do while loop. So first of all we'll write do, and inside this do we'll write I plus plus, that is we are incrementing the counter. Then we'll print f1, because in Fibonacci series the first number is always 0. So we'll write f1. We have assigned f1 as 0, so it will get printed. Now we'll write sum equals f1 plus f2. This is the logic, and after this we'll write f1 equals to f2, that is we are assigning the value of f2 to f1, and f2 equals sum. So here what we are doing is, for each iteration we are assigning second number to the first number and assigning the sum of the last two numbers to the second number. So Fibonacci sequence works that way. 0, 1, 1, that is the sum of the previous two elements, is the third element. Like 0 plus 1 equals to 1, then 1 plus 1 equals to 2, then 2 plus 1 equals to 3. So that is how it goes on. Now after do block we'll use while loop. Inside the while loop we'll put a condition that if I is less than equal to n. As we know the value of I is 1, on increment it becomes 2, and the value of n is 10. So this block will keep on iterating till I becomes equal to 10. And as we know that I is now 2 after this block executes, which is less than 10, so again this block will execute. So it keeps on iterating till I becomes equal to 10. So it will print up to 10. That is 0 to 10 digits of Fibonacci series. Now let's try to run this one. As we can see, these are the Fibonacci series 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. There are total 10 digits. So as we can see, 0 plus 1 equals to 1, 1 plus 2 equals to 3, then there is 3 plus 5 equals to 8, then there is 8 plus 13 equals to 21, 13 plus 21 equals to 34. So this is our Fibonacci series, and we have done it with the help of do while loop. So these were some examples of loops in Kotlin. You can try some more examples on it. It will help you understand this topic better. So with that, we have come to the end of this topic. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I hope it really helped you all. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and keep learning.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.